Episode 2. We're alive. We have a lot of interesting stuff in the
Yeah,
pod.
it's crazy.
100%. It's amazing. There are so many quotes on this, but when you're looking forward, it's sometimes so hard to or impossible to envision exponential growth. And then when you look back, it looks more linear than exponential. It's like
Yeah,
either way you look at it, you can't really comprehend how much can be done in the span of a year. But
yeah,
with
yeah.
that being
It's like
said, I don't
people.
did Jack tell you yet about the news of where we stand in agency ranking with how many videos we post per day?
No,
Oh,
no, what's that?
I'm so happy I can say this. Uh, so Jack was talking to me because he spoke with our TikTok team at TikTok. We're in the top 2 of agencies in the world, posting the most amount of videos daily for active partners.
Holy shit.
Fuck yeah.
That's crazy.
And
We
so,
are posting a crazy amount though. Like that is no doubt,
yeah,
no doubt.
but
That's epic.
we'll dive
Second
in.
in the world. That's
It's like,
insane.
so he said top 2. So
Top two. Yeah, yeah.
as as you know, the head of growth specifically, he didn't say we're second place. He said we're top 2. So we'll
Damn.
let people discern for themselves if they think we're second or first place.
That's epic, man. Damn. All right. Well, that's a good way to start the pod. Today is mostly about giving a bit more context on our backstory, how the agency got started, something we didn't have the chance to do as much on the first episode. And it's also going to be a chance for us to address like the frequently asked questions. So that's
Yeah.
the purpose of the pod. Do you want to kick it off here?
Yeah, we'll kick right off. What is our USP? That's something we get asked a lot. What is our USP? What makes us different from the rest? How are we going to work with the partner in a way that's different from the other guys? And
Yeah.
I'd say the interesting thing with or point with that question is, and hand over heart, I actually number one can't really name a competitor. Direct apple to apple. I'm not able granted, there are a lot of guys that do affiliate. There are a lot of guys that will say they know to do TikTok shop. There are a lot of guys who say they know to do TikTok ads. But somebody who can say that they are a expert verified by TikTok globally across any multiple market or any major market in all of these instruments, I really can't name another person. Uh, that, and it's a bit of the thing of we're executing on publicly available information. We don't have a secret, we don't have this secret neurochemical that makes us TikTok gods per se. We just execute very, very well. And we've been doing it for a very long time. Um, that's my
Yeah.
2 cents on it. Again, I'm sure you have a million points that could be added to that.
Yeah, Young with Solutions differentiates itself as while competitors operate in only affiliate marketing or only content creation or just TikTok ads, we do a hybrid of the three, and we have proven that this is what yields results, which kind of leads to the second USP is our track record. I don't know anyone in the industry that has worked with the names that we do that has actually walked the talk. And so I think this is why we have a lot of inbound and people coming to us is because they see that we practice what we preach.
Definitely. And it's so interesting because we speak to so many brands and SaaS platforms for that matter as well, who speak to a lot of different service providers who say they know what they're doing, and even just the information that they get from us before working with us. It's just information that we almost see as ubiquitous and just very basic isn't necessarily basic information for other guys, and it stems precisely from that, just from
Yeah,
executing well. And I mean that
yeah,
stat from the beginning of this conversation of the in within the top 2 globally
yeah,
for content posted daily. The amount of
yeah,
learnings you get from that, you're if you take more action or more aggressive action, you're going to learn more aggressive lessons quicker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And we're fortunate to be in a position where we are now abundant. And so we're not scared about sharing our information or quote unquote the secret sauce. We give away the information and sell the implementation. That's how we've seen our value proposition towards partners.
100%. And that's a good segue to I guess, the second commonly asked question. Have you worked with our industry? Have you worked with XYZ niche? Have you worked with XYZ corner of the market? Uh,
Yeah. We we've worked with over 400 brands since 2019, and I've had almost, I mean, there's very few markets that I can think of that we have not worked with.
yeah,
Further, the underlying skill that it takes to grow in any category is the same. Your ability to entertain, to make short form videos, that replicates across any niche. So, and TikTok has a billion users. Like, if your target audience has a phone, they're on TikTok. So,
definitely.
yeah,
And
it's
it's
just a limiting belief, in my opinion.
100%. And it's a limiting belief that I think it's one of the most common limiting beliefs that we end up having to guide our partners through or brands through. Uh, notably right now, as we go through this inflection point of older demographics getting onto the channel, more sophisticated buyers jumping onto the channel, it's almost a thing of you shouldn't be afraid if on the off chance there are less competitors on the platform, you should actually be encouraged to go into the channel even more aggressively. Uh, and again, we're seeing this with more specialized products such as red lights, such as diamond rings, such as sophisticated wellness systems, such as high ticket services. Uh, there isn't an industry that will not succeed on TikTok. There isn't an industry that is white hat accepted by TikTok that ultimately doesn't work. It's more so, what are you doing on the channel? And it ties back to the
Yeah.
principles. They're literally
Yeah.
exactly the same.
A few
French
weeks
fries.
ago, a Birkin was sold through TikTok Live. A Birkin is like $15,000. So for anyone that thinks that product is too expensive or too exclusive for a platform like TikTok, a Birkin bag, one of the most unobtainable items on earth, was sold on TikTok Live.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's and we can go, there's Birkin bags, there's $30 million jets being sold.
yeah, that Jet dude, I love him.
Yeah.
I love him.
OG. And
And he's
he's
blowing up.
100%. And he is what many would consider old or too old for the platform. He's rocking
Yeah.
his stuff, and it's I think
And
it's ultimately
he talks about how his social media presence has transformed the business. He goes on podcast saying, and since the whole social media boom, his business has like 10x. So
oh yeah.
because you'll find that on the videos, it's just him on sales calls trying to convince people to buy a jet, or he does like a tour of his office and so on. You would think that, I mean, from an outside point of view, you might think that this is just entertaining, but it's leading to real business, and he's getting so many eyeballs. So
I'm
yeah, I think there's just like a lack of education for people that think TikTok is not for them.
I'm so interested to see uh just how many, so that example, and when we talked about industries, because a lot of people try focusing on just short-term initial conversion, right? And that's probably the most short-handed way of looking at the channel. For that guy in particular, selling 25 to 30 million dollar jets, I can only imagine how many deals 5, 10, 15 years down the line that he's already quote unquote confirmed just from being the first guy that maybe the next Bill Gates or the next Elon Musk or the kid who's scaling an e-commerce brand for the first time or has exited a SaaS platform very early on. All of those, he has the system to not only bring in more immediate leads, but he now has a system where long term future proofing his business. For me and you, as an example, whenever we do get to that point of acquiring that first jet, who are we going to think of when we think
Yeah.
about the buying experience? We're so educated on how he does business.
Yeah.
He's levels ahead of his competition just from that.
Yeah.
From that.
Yeah. 100%. The first guy that you think of when buying a jet is him. Like you associate buying jets with his name. And that's the power of personal brand. And regardless if he gets banned or if the business fails or whatsoever, like he has that reputation. It sticks in people's minds and it goes beyond just just his business. So yeah, again, like underlying the power of personal brands.
A lot of different corners of businesses and products and services provided. For us, what is our track record? Where do we come from? What is our hero story so far?
The background story is that I was influenced originally by a Tai Lopez video. It was one of his Here in My Garage video, and it hooked me. I bought the course. It was the 67 steps that inspired me to think about entrepreneurship. I was very young, still at school, not knowledgeable at all. And for the next year or so, I dabbled with a bit of e-commerce, a bit of drop shipping, um, until I finished high school. At the end of high school, I doubled down on entrepreneurship. I was not making a lot of money, but enough to sustain myself, and I knew this was the path that I wanted to pursue. And this is late 2018, I want to say, and right around this time, another person that I followed, Gary Vaynerchuk, was preaching TikTok. He was talking about it on all of his videos, how TikTok was the next big opportunity, the next YouTube. And I was fortunate that the timing of me hearing that was pretty good because I was out of high school. I had a lot of disposable time on my hand, and I was like, okay, screw it. I'm going to get on the platform. And so I started by posting 3 videos every single day. And in the early days, it was a bit of a roller coaster because the way that TikTok works is that it shows your videos to your local IP. So after my first video, all of my friends from high school saw it and knew that I was on TikTok. And it's the most
Damn,
humiliating thing that I went through at that stage, right? Because it was a cringe video. I didn't know anything about content creation, and like
totally.
so all my street cred went from like all my street cred completely plummeted.
Wow.
But um, another thing that Gary Vee preach is that you can't let other people's opinion matter because like we were saying on the last podcast, there's this thing called the spotlight syndrome where you think people care about what you do but actually no one really cares just as much as like
Yeah.
them. So anyways, I decided to not give a fuck about people's opinion and I was going to give this a shot and screw everybody else. So I continued posting 3 videos a day until one day a video that I made about tech. I think it was something along the lines of 7 things you didn't know you could do on your MacBook. And that video got like 1 million views in a couple of days, which was amazing. You know, at the time I didn't even have 10,000 followers. It was just the very early days. It's probably like 1 month in. So I've posted about 100 videos at this point with no real success. I mean, my real first hit came at about 100 videos down the line, just to
Wow.
give a perspective of like how much I was pushing it, and that it was not all luck. Although there's still an
Totally.
element of that. Uh, so I kept on posting. I started to understand, and I started to see a recurring pattern that whenever I did like tech-related videos, so again like
Mm,
hacks for your laptop, websites, um, Chrome extensions that you didn't know you needed, things, topics like that, people would catch on to it, and I was kind of interested about that regardless. So it worked out pretty well, right? And so I kind of narrowed down on this vertical, and one day, probably about 4 or 5 months after that initial hit, I made a video called How to Create a Logo in 30 Seconds. And in this video, I was showing how to use Shopify to make a logo, which then allows you to create a website. This video got 10 million views, or I think it got 10 million views in 24 hours. So
Wow.
absolute madness. My phone was like beeping every second and I had to turn notifications on and I was over the moon. I gained tens of thousands of followers and it was insane. Uh, Definitely one of the biggest dopamine rush that I've had. So this happens, and a few days later, I receive an email from Shopify. I don't know where they found my email, but it's like at Shopify. Basically, the email was saying, "Hey, we want to get on a call."
It's awesome.
And mind you, I used to do drop shipping and a bit of e-commerce, so like Shopify used to be my everything, right? Like
Yeah.
it was my holy company that kind of allowed me to start entrepreneurship in the first place. So have them contact me was already like quite a wow moment. But what's even more crazy is that as I accepted to get on this call, I show up to the call and I see Toby Luke on
Holy
there.
shit.
And frankly, I was stunned. Um, and
What was
he
your first
tells
thought
me,
seeing him? Like, did you think
um,
you were in trouble in some way? Because that's
yeah,
crazy.
I wasn't sure. I thought I might have been in trouble, maybe for like copyright infringement or something of that nature. And it's like six people and me alone on the call. They're all from Shopify, and yeah, I was I was a bit speechless. Uh, and basically, they tell me that a couple days ago, the website crashed, and it crashed due to traffic overload and they couldn't figure out where the traffic was coming from or what caused this spike of traffic until Toby tells me that one of his employees showed him my TikTok video, and this is when it clicked for him that a TikTok video crashed that website.
Wow.
So I didn't know before he told me that it had such an impact. I didn't know that I crashed Shopify, but
And for
it kind of like
context,
yeah.
yeah, for context, just so people know this, this wasn't yesterday. When is all this going on, right? Because this is a while ago.
Yeah, this is April, something along like April 2019. So back
Wow.
then, back then TikTok is still a platform where it's all about dancing and cringy, floating videos with your camera. No one's talking about TikTok, right? And frankly, I was afraid to tell anyone I was on TikTok. I was just doing this and seeing where it goes. But I didn't believe that there was a career in it or whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it clicked for him that a single TikTok video crashed his website, and he had a light bulb moment, yeah, realizing the power of TikTok. And so, long story short, he asked me if I could do it again. So I was like, holy shit, that's not what I expected him to ask of me. Like to start walking together? No way. Obviously, I said yes. I made them pay nothing pretty much, like I think a couple $100 to make a few more videos on my account and to help them with their account. But I was so excited. I barely turned 18 at that point, and so I worked on their TikTok account. I created all of the strategy, made videos on their behalf. I reached out to more influencers to do some collabs. I also helped them with their media buying strategy. And
Wow.
that was the first person that I helped on TikTok from a video of mine that crashed their website. So it's a pretty crazy story. That was super cool to work with. Uh, and and the store, I mean, and then it was kind of like a snowball effect from there as a few months down the line, we were able to gain some traction, and I was really giving my everything to Shopify. I was really acting like this was my company, and I really wanted to impress them. So I think I actually made more videos than I was originally contracted to on my account, and I just made sure that this was the
Yeah.
real deal and that they loved it. They saw that not only in the results but in my level of effort, and lucky me, this is right around the time where Gymshark was also looking to get on the platform. Now,
Wow.
Gymshark and Shopify are close like this, right?
Yeah.
So I had Shopify refer me as a TikTok expert to Gymshark.
Wow.
So yeah, super lucky. Uh,
And they were
and
their
I kind of
biggest client at
started.
that point. I think they're the
Yeah.
biggest Shopify. I don't know if they still are. Don't nobody quote me on this, but at the time they were for sure.
Yeah, probably still. I'm not sure, but definitely one of the biggest stores on Shopify. And so yeah, I start working with them. A similar story. We start from scratch. We start from scratch, but their account was much easier to grow because it's already a household name. It's B2C. They have so many ambassadors that we can leverage the audience off of. So we grew the account from scratch to like 1 million followers in something like a month, and our relationship continued. It's to date one of our biggest case study. Notably, we did the Gymshark 66 campaign, which was a massive success. A lot of people still, if you look up that campaign on social media, there are so many articles talking about it and trying to reverse engineer the strategy. But yeah, we were able to engineer this challenge where users were incentivized to document their workouts on a daily basis using our hashtag for 66 days, because it takes 66 days to build a new habit. And whoever um, whoever completed the challenge had access to an exclusive drop of Gymshark merch. Yeah, we've had thousands of people join the challenge. I think it's at over 1 billion views accumulated.
Wow.
They gained, I want to say, another 1 million followers from this campaign. And yeah, to date, it's really like one of the most iconic cultural phenomenon on TikTok for a brand.
It's incredible.
So that's kind of
So,
like what really started it all. And like that's me as a like consulting freelancer, I would say. From that point forward, I started getting a lot more referrals and inbound.
yeah.
So the company Young with Solutions was born,
Wow.
and the purpose was to create this infrastructure where I could replicate what I did for Shopify and for Gymshark to more brands. And so it was creating that content, collaborating with influencers, and making sure that we had a direct return on investment by running ads off of anything that went viral organically.
From
So
from your account, and let's like any great Quentin Tarantino movie, right? You're at 75% of the movie completed, then you go back to zero, then you go. If we go back to near zero, because you said it took you more than 100 videos to hit that first viral moment, if you will, or that first spark. Were you testing ideas systematically, or was it very much all over the place, spaghetti to the wall?
yeah, no, my first few videos were the most random things ever. Literally, the way that I thought about it is, let me think of what are the things that I can do, that what interests me, and what are things that I can do. Like for example, I can juggle like 3 to 4 balls simultaneously. It's like that type of thing, right? It's like, okay, I can do that. I can do the Rubik's cube. I can do the Diabolo. I don't know. Do you know what that is?
That's what, like the pins? You're throwing out
Yeah,
the
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of just list down like, okay, these are all the things that I can do that I'm interested in. Other things were like I can play tennis, I play poker, I play chess. So I kind of just listed down all of my interests, and from there I looked on TikTok like what videos are going viral in each of these categories. And all I did is I looked at the most viral video of each category and made a version of my own. And one of these interests happened to be like tech related,
Yeah.
laptop stuff. It took off, and I kind of just naturally continued in that path. But yeah, you can still
Wow.
scroll down to my TikTok and see all of these videos. I haven't removed anything. There's me playing guitar, there's me acting cringe like after a gym workout, and all of these things. I don't remove them. I can't watch myself because it's too cringe. But I don't remove them because that's what we're trying to preach now is,
Yeah.
start broad and kind of double down on whatever takes off. I mean, that still aligns with your basic values, but yeah, that's kind of like what we're preaching today. And so I refuse to let this part of my past be erased.
Totally. There's a and we spoke a bit before about when you're looking forward in a journey versus when you're looking back to review progress. there's almost this layer of authenticity that is added when you actually leave the the steps that you took or the footprints that you took that perhaps were imperfect or perhaps weren't as optimized as the steps that you're taking now. It's interesting because you went from your accounts to growing Shopify's account to then growing Gymshark's presence on the channel. From these three successes, did you start carving out any fundamental principles at this point where it just clicked, okay, any account on the channel, if they just do these things and they follow these mind frames, they will succeed. They just need to follow these to a T. And perhaps you could share a bit of those.
Yeah, totally. And that's ultimately why I created the agency as well, is because I knew, okay, if you replicate these core principles, theoretically anyone can do this. It's not limited to one account or one industry. If you make content on a daily basis and you remain consistent, you're going to grow a community. If you work with influencers, you're going to get spikes of traffic and eyeballs towards you. And if you run ads on the things that go viral organically, your likelihood of being profitable are through the roof. And
Yeah,
these are through trial and errors with Gymshark and Shopify, right? Like I learned in the trenches and I made a ton of mistakes, but it was clear that this is the infrastructure that is needed to succeed. And I compartmentalized all of these into like SOPs and kind of like repeatable processes that could go beyond just me. So it was a matter of like how can you productize this workflow and kind of hand it out to anybody else, because if you remain the one doing all of it, you become the bottleneck. So
totally. It's interesting because when we speak about SOPs and conveying the fact that there are underlying principles that will allow you to see success on the channel. A lot of people mistake principles and frameworks and they confuse them with specific content ideas. And we get this question a lot on the front end. Hey, what is the content idea that you propose that will get us to 100 million views or help us make $1 billion? And the fundamental answer before, I don't want to say justifying ourselves or perhaps breaking down our way of thinking, is there isn't a one-off arbitrary content idea that we know without any data from posting will get you to that viral moment. Uh, with that being said, what are your thoughts when someone asks you what type of content should I post? Right? So say pulling out of the
yeah,
air a beauty brand comes to you and says, "Hey, what
yeah,
is the content idea you recommend?"
yeah. I always say the following to people, that the videos that you put the most effort to, and when you post you're like, this is definitely a winner, end up being the ones that flop, and the ones that where you put zero effort in and at times are just posting for the sake of posting are the ones that really go viral. So and that has happened time and time again, and this, you can ask anyone that's big on social media, there's like a big element of just luck, right? You can definitely engineer certain videos and content to hit on particular emotion points, but there's an element of luck. What I would recommend for a brand that is looking for a viral piece of content, or like exactly what to post, the best way of going about it is looking at what has gone viral in the past, because the likelihood that it will go viral again is high compared to a brand new piece of content. And frankly, there's also a saying that everything under the sun has been said. I think that's how it goes. So, like everything that is to be said has been said at this point. So, what you should aim to do is understanding what has worked in the past, trying to reverse engineer why these things have worked. And if you can do that across multiple competitors or across multiple videos, you can identify winning patterns from a video and another, and perhaps merge the two together. And that is now a brand new piece of content.
Yeah,
So that's what I did at the very beginning of my journey. Now people look at there are so many TikTokers that have copied frame by frame my content because they saw that it worked and it's like a winning concept. So obviously it sucks for me because they're copycats, but at the same time, the reason why they're winning on TikTok is because they're copying.
Yeah.
It's Picasso that said, uh, good artists copy, great artists steal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's such an interesting point that it's a profound point that we bring up. A lot of when we speak about this to potential partners and to existing clients, they automatically believe that we're going to rip off an idea frame by frame. That's not what we mean. What we mean is there are proven formulas that have already worked. What you need to figure out is how can you take that formula and add your own flavor to it. You don't reinvent the wheel. There's this principle. It's not my framework. I learned this a while back. I forget who I learned this from, but it's the concept of 3 degrees. So imagine you
Mhm.
have a frame. Imagine you have a frame of a picture, and it's perfectly aligned with the room, with the wall. What you essentially want to do is tilt it 3 degrees, and that 3 degrees being your own spice or your own flavor. And by tilting that picture, you're making it your own. Uh, and we see it time and time again where when we speak about content ideas, let's say if we took any product, perfume, cologne, right? This is a product that's going viral. Cologne with pheromones in it. Street interviews. That isn't a content idea. That's a content structure that we know has worked with similar products. You should test that, and maybe it will work. Maybe it won't. But if you know who you are, you have nothing to lose with throwing spaghetti at the wall. Perhaps the complication is when, and we see this with a lot of teams, when you start factoring in the need for short-term conversion or to make revenues immediately and balancing making revenues immediately with, okay, we're building something long-term for the brand. We're building this asset where uh, and I learned this following quote from you. It's a lot like a vineyard. You need to sow your seeds in the right soil, water properly, sun properly. And then when the vintage is ready or when the harvest is ready, you'll pick the grapes. Which ties to the next point here. What are your thoughts on guaranteeing results? Because this is a space that is very saturated. Every person in their mother's basement starting off trying an agency
Yeah.
believes
Yeah. I
they will
think,
succeed with a
yeah.
with a huge guarantee.
Yeah, people offering guarantees really don't understand what it takes to succeed on TikTok, because you can't offer guarantees unless you are in full control of all variables. And rarely does an agency have control of customer service, product quality, shipping times, landing page optimizations, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
So whenever we enter a partnership with our clients, we make it crystal clear that both parties need to lift their weights in order to succeed. Because we're going to bring the traffic and conversions, but if you're not able to satisfy your clients or convert them through your landing page, frankly, that's not necessarily our fault. We can work on it, but that's not our responsibility. And had we given you a guarantee of revenue, well, now there's this bottleneck that we don't control that significantly affects results. Further, we're going to be fed so much data going into TikTok, and it's such a fast paced environment. We need to collaborate with partners that are on the ball, ready to adapt and make changes as we receive this information. So, again, people offering guarantees just lack an understanding of what it really takes to succeed.
yeah. And we're saying this from experience as well in the sense of we have done we have tested guarantees in the past, and the lesson that we learned there was those guarantees would be fulfilled if we did have full control of every single variable under the sun. You just don't. Uh, I think it's also, and it ties to your point of we don't have control over everything, focusing on the inputs that are actually needed to see an output versus putting or fetishizing the output itself right from the get-go. Uh, and perhaps that's also one key paradigm that we need to guide partners through, which is This isn't a Facebook ads campaign where you turn it on and if things go well, you're getting a 3x day zero. This is a platform that requires a foundation before enjoying the results or enjoying the fruits of your labor, if you will. Uh, and
Yeah,
it's yeah, I mean your own story, the 100 videos before going viral is a
yeah,
huge example of that.
yeah. And some things just take time, right? If you want to have a baby, you can't just sleep with 9 wives and suddenly have the baby in 1 month. Some things just take 9 months to happen. TikTok is the same. Like it's gonna take a few months before you see the fruits of your work.
Yeah. It's interesting comparing accounts that haven't found success yet and perhaps have tried for a long time versus accounts that actually see results quicker and the paradigms that both teams have going into the channel. Uh, one partner in our journey as an agency that we haven't talked about is Duolingo. I think Duolingo is perhaps a great example of aggressive inputs knowing an output is going to come, but just aggressive inputs.
Yeah, volume is the name of the game, and they have found a content format that is super scalable because it's a mascot. So anyone can be under that mascot. They're not reliant on any single individual. The reason it does so well is because now their video output, whereas their competitors post a few times a week, Duolingo posts 5 to 6 times a day.
Yeah.
Now, that's not sustainable for most people because asking any individual to make 5 to 6 video every single day until for years is is uh, is a hard task. Is a hard task. But I can talk about Duolingo for hours with the content strategy and so on. But fundamentally, the thing that they got right and what we preach as well is like you have to be consistent and do a big volume. If you get these two things right, you're ahead of the curve and the other things will come a lot easier. Like your winning formula is just a matter of time because the more you post, the more data it's going to get clearer and clearer what works. You're going to grow your community. You're going to start yielding results organically as your growth grows exponentially. So it's really like the fundamentals that they do right, and these are leverage points that make everything else much easier.
Definitely. And it ties to because we spoke about Shopify, we spoke about Gymshark, we spoke about Duolingo, we've spoken about the fruits that you can enjoy on TikTok itself. With Duolingo, it's an interesting account. Same with Gymshark, due to the fact that they're not only seeing results from their TikTok efforts on TikTok, they're actually seeing a huge wave of results starting from TikTok on these other platforms. And this isn't a freak coincidence or a freak occurrence, if you will. We see this across practically every single partner account. I'm not sure if I'm at liberty to say their name. I'm not going to risk it, but we have a partner in the wellness space, pretty high ticket. I believe they raised their ad spend on TikTok from a few grand a month to 3K a day with us. And they are not on TikTok Shop. They are not running direct conversions from TikTok to a product page. They are leading people to a third party subscription model.
Yeah, we've created a lot of content for this brand. So now that they're just ramping up the ads, they went from, like you said, a few $1,000s a month to $3,000 a day in a matter of a week or so, just because we have enough content for them to keep on pouring fuel on the fire. And a lot of other brands just lack creatives, amounts of or a number of creatives to deploy this. But when it comes to diversification or cross-platform results, people will often find you on TikTok, and as we've previously talked, it's one of the main USP of the platform is your exposure to new eyeballs. But as people discover you on TikTok, anyone that's somewhat engaged will check out your YouTube, will check out your website, your Instagram. And so as a consequence of being active on TikTok, not only will you grow the other platforms, but most excitingly, and this is only something that has started to happen in the last few years, is that you can cross-post the same videos that you post on TikTok to Instagram and to YouTube. So you're effectively hitting three birds in one stone by just being active on TikTok. What's also interesting is that we've tested with a number of clients to create on YouTube or to create on Instagram and then post to TikTok, but that has not generated results. And my thesis for that is TikTok creates the trends, and whatever is trending on Instagram is what was trending 2 weeks ago on TikTok. So if you use your TikTok content to be active on all other platforms, you're effectively having 3 times the results at no extra cost.
Most definitely. It's so when I started media buying on TikTok, we started posting on organic. This was a brand in the fitness space selling two-in-one line shorts. We were competing with the likes of Fabletics way back when. And we started scaling very aggressively on TikTok very quickly. We got to a point where within 2 weeks of posting, we were doing 4 to 5 times per day. We hit our first video that hit 800,000 views. Funnily enough, this was when Andrew Tate started going his first wave of virality. And our copy, I'm so happy we had an agency managed ad account at the time. I think we still use that business center. We essentially took some of the verbiage that he used and matched it with social sentiment. So you'd see these videos of just a creator flexing his legs in these shorts, and the copy was literally stuff like, these shorts are made for alphas, or only sigmas wear these shorts. So you can imagine very edgy, the tire rim to the pavement sort of stuff, and it was reaping results. The interesting thing about that was we were able to get to 5 to 6K per day on TikTok alone. We took those same creatives and we put them on Snapchat, Facebook, Pinterest, and YouTube, and we got to 15 to 20K per day.
Damn.
Just
Same
again,
video.
same videos, same angle. And it was such an interesting experience. It's what we're, again, this was 4 years ago, and the same principles apply. The same principles are not only reaping fruits still, but actually reaping fruits much more aggressively now, given that all these algorithms are much more TikTokified than before. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're able to speak about them. If we aren't, then we can, I guess, bleep the name of this partner. Tin Savings. Great
Yeah,
example
yeah,
of
they
this.
crushed it for
I
sure.
mean,
Tin Savings started with Young with Solutions in January. As of September, they have 300,000 followers on TikTok, 200,000 followers on Instagram, and 100,000 followers on YouTube. Actually, Krish was showing me the YouTube plaque that he got. You know, the award for winning 100,000 followers. I was kind of jealous because I don't have that myself, but we were able to get it for him by just posting the same TikTok videos across Instagram and YouTube. Um,
yeah,
so that was great.
and yeah, definitely. And it's a thing of, I mean, that's just from an engagement standpoint, the amount of reach they're getting, hitting multiple birds with one stone. I think they were projecting what, a $5 cost per install. They're hitting a
Yeah.
$1.10 cost per installs, something wild like that.
Yeah, I forget the numbers, but I think that cost per install is about $1, but that cost per paid subscriber is around 5, which is unheard of. Most apps out there spend triple that, if not more, to acquire a paid customer.
Definitely. We've
Yeah.
had many interesting cases this year.
Yeah,
Different verticals, different business models.
yeah. There's no shortage of that. I do wonder if there are more frequently asked questions that we can answer.
Mm,
Um, but
what does success look like? Is
yeah.
there any arbitrary picture of success?
Any brand has to determine what they define as their North Star. Some just want to optimize for awareness, some need a particular return on investment, and we adapt our strategy accordingly. But when we start with our partners, our initial goal is to show proof of concept. We're not going to sell them on the fact that they're going to be rich and famous in 30 days. We just want to show, look, this is a better acquisition channel than Meta or Google or FBA or retail, whatever you're doing. This is going to be valuable. Let us prove that to you within the span of our initial agreement. And as we show that proof of concept and that we have a successful partnership, we try to align incentives so that both parties scale.
What are instruments going into 2025 that brands should be looking at on the channel?
TikTok live stream is the biggest gold mine, in my opinion. TikTok live streams, building your own community of affiliates is crucial. If you want to have results with TikTok Shop affiliates, they need to be more educated about your product and they need to be continuously talking about you. Because if they just make one video, they don't have enough skin in the game, nor do they understand the brand well enough to make content that will resonate. But the same creator that makes 3, 4, 5, 10 videos about the brand really gets a feel for what to say, what problem the product solves, and that just translates on the content. So this is why we are advocates of creating your own community, whether it's on Slack, Discord, WhatsApp, or whatsoever. But you want to create a tight-knit group chat with them where you share best practices, what other affiliates are doing that are making money, etc., as well as having an incentive roadmap to keep them talking about you.
What are the main challenges that you believe we see partners struggling with when they
Yeah,
do get started with us?
yeah. So
'Cause there's so many.
since the since the iOS update, targeting has become less effective on Meta, and year over year, the CPMs on Google or Meta are rising. So you're spending way more money to acquire the same customer than 2 to 3 years ago, meaning that customer acquisition costs are getting more expensive, margins are getting slimmer. And if you remain dependent on just one platform, you're basically going on a race to the bottom. So brands need to look at diversification and sustainable ways in which to decrease their customer acquisition costs. One way to do that is to diversify platform, so going on something like TikTok. Secondly is to have a massive creative output. If you're able to produce 10 times more creatives than your competitors, your hit rate, meaning winning creatives that you find, goes through the roof. And so you have a significant competitive advantage. And lastly, you need to have unit economics that make sense. There are so
Yeah,
many brands that get screwed over by variable costs, such as shipping. They don't
100%.
understand the real unit economics and they are unable to increase average order value or lifetime value.
Yeah,
So these are things that we help clients with because TikTok is the best platform to test pricing, bundles, creatives, and ultimately being active there reduces your customer acquisition costs.
definitely. It's such an interesting question because it's like a ball of Velcro where so many things can attach to it very quickly or it's like a snowball where there's so many different scenarios that are relevant to that. From a high level, from what we're seeing, more so on the front end, it's low engagement, low traffic. Well, TikTok, as we speak, is the channel that is the stickiest in order to boost brand awareness and boost traffic. When we speak about, I love how you touched on unit economics, brands that don't understand their unit economics, but even brands where the margins are either too thin to test their creative strategy with ads, just given how expensive different paid channels are, or ads in general, it doesn't matter about their margins, but ads in general are just so expensive. And it's a product that requires so much education where you're going to be spending a lot of money on paid ads if you don't have organic. Marble, great
Yeah,
example of this, where or any product that again requires perhaps more touch points to get to that first conversion. If you're posting organic, every single video is a touch point, and that
yeah.
perhaps is something that a lot of brand teams, I don't want to say don't understand, but perhaps they haven't been made aware of this yet. Where if you post 3 videos per day, that's 3 new touch points that can educate your customer in that product journey. Uh, and it ties to Perhaps another question, I know we're running short on time here, but another question that we get asked a lot, what is the main difference between TikTok and Instagram, as an example? And traditionally, one of the reasons why TikTok is almost made for brands with lower margins or brands that require more education, which is essentially every business in the world, is the fact that it is a volumes-based channel and it is a views-based channel. What that means is your growth isn't going to come from nurturing your current following. Your growth is going to come from bringing in new viewers and new users consistently onto the profile and into your flywheel. And that doesn't just mean new customers. That means even if somebody has bought from you already, if they liked the first hit, maybe you're a shaving cream brand or a soap brand, uh, Dr. Squatch. If I liked your product but I didn't subscribe, if I'm on my For You page and I'm reminded of that experience again through a video that I see from you, I'm going back into your funnel. Uh, and if we compare that to, again, we can speak about this until the moon turns purple, but perhaps your thoughts on that, the difference between Instagram and TikTok being that,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, plain and simple, TikTok, you can post a video and have a million views tomorrow. It's just not possible on Instagram or YouTube. So leverage is the answer.
leverage baby. Heck yeah. That's are there any other questions? I think we've answered a ton of them.
So another question that a lot of clients ask us is whether or not they need to be on TikTok themselves.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You by no means need to be on TikTok yourself. Granted, it helps having a face to the brand or having, especially the founder's face to the brand. There are so many success stories where that isn't the case. I mean, it's one of our main competencies developing a strategy that is malleable or catered to the comfort level of the particular partner. I'd say, and there are multiple, again, different scenarios that play in this, but if the founder isn't the target demographic per se, right? So if it's perhaps a 50-year-old guy who's the founder of a hair curling brand that is catering to 17-year-old girls, perhaps maybe he isn't the best guy to split test the product on camera. Uh, but we'll then have brands where the founders are the target demographic and they understand the person's pain points and they suit the look, for lack of a better way of putting it. You can get a lot of leverage from that. Uh, Another point to consider if you're a founder debating on getting on camera and putting yourself in front of the content for your business is, do you want yourself or your face to be attached to the company on the front end? What we mean by that is there are lots of companies that we work with who perhaps are building a business to exit down the line. And if you're not careful, what you can risk is creating a dependency of the brand onto your personal image. And so, long story short, having the founder in the content is a benefit. It's by no means a need. There are so many brands where it actually plays in their favor not having the founder, and there are so many brands where it does play in their favor. It all depends on your comfort, your objectives with the business, and whatever your decision is, executing on your content properly at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Sure. So another another pretty common question. Do you create all of the content for us? Or I guess in this sense, do we create all of the content for them when a partner comes in?
So it's important to know that we adapt to each of our partners' needs. Some will have existing resources in-house that they can leverage and some not. So in anything that we do, there is a done with you approach where we can consult, we can do the heavy lifting on your behalf while execution of that strategy is done internally. We also offer a done for you approach where we take care of the entire process A to Z. And the last element is that we also help companies to internalize the scope of work because eventually it actually becomes cheaper and more flexible for a brand to hire in house than to work with agencies. So we have coaching programs and recruiting services where we help these companies to internalize their processes.
Yeah. With that, and this is maybe it's the mic drop, maybe it's not. What is the cost of doing nothing on TikTok going into 2025? For those who say they can wait mañana, mañana, what is the cost of putting TikTok off for a brand right now?
Yeah. So, as anything in life, it's either you're growing or you're dying. And one guarantee about 2025 is that Meta, Google, retail, Amazon, the costs of CPMs, cost per clicks, and others are going to continue to rise. So it's either you hop on the opportunity now, start learning now, or you're going to pay more later to play catch up with these brands. But TikTok is an inevitability. Um, it's either you get it now or pay more to catch up later. Well,
Tying to the back of that, if you were to envision a perfect brand and their content structure, what is that perfect brand doing, say from a daily, weekly, or monthly perspective?
yeah, the in an ideal world, a brand is posting 3 to 5 times a day with a content creator that has a great pulse on the culture of the platform and has a sense of humor and knows how to make content that evokes raw human reactions, making someone laugh, making them excited, and the list goes on. In addition to that, you want to pair it with influencer collaborations, which create these spikes in traffic uh, towards your page. And last but not least, you want to be doing constant creative testing on a paid perspective so that you feed the learnings of your organic. You basically, as you run ads, you're going to be given a lot of data as to retention rates and click through rates, which is things you can incorporate back into your content, and the circle continues, right? So it's a constant learning loop, and by being operational and active amongst the three, the brands make a killing on TikTok.
Is there, and I say this almost in a rhetorical way, in the sense of there's almost this illusion of there's more of a cost doing more than doing less. And perhaps it's stemming from a world where everybody used to be super curated with their content on Instagram, super the perfect feed, pumpkin spice latte, right? Photoshop filters on every single post. Now it's very much no, whoever does more will learn more, and then whoever learns more will ultimately win more. Uh, and that's here to stay.
100%. 100%. Volume, volume. We
Heck
keep
yeah.
saying it, but yeah,
We
simplicity
should
scale, you know?
we should drop some merch soon with some of the phrases that we
Yeah,
repeat on a daily
true,
basis. That
true.
actually
We
hit.
should do that.
That'd be a cool gift for like an onboarding gift.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be cool.
That's
Um,
so true. We could give that to clients and stuff. I like
yeah,
that.
like volume,
Just
baby.
post that. Yeah. Yeah, actually, we should do that. We should do that. I like it.
Yeah, but that's a
All right.
2025 discussion.
Yeah. 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 All right, man. But I think that's the pod. We made
Heck
it
yeah.
to episode 2. Let's go.
Let's go for the hat trick. We'll see you guys at episode 3. With that, stay safe. Keep posting.
Let's rock.